But I just think there's a jealousy factor, and I do think there's an unlikable because he's brash, he's outspoken, flashy, all that kind of stuff, and he was a celeb for a long time.
Yeah.
He's been out there because of his dad, his name.
Having your dad as your head coach for your entire career in college, offensive coordinator in high school, was he harder on you than the other kids on the team?
Yeah, of course, because I represent him, so he knows going into any situation that the other team feels like they're playing against him. And the only way how they beat him is by beating me.
Well, now tuned in to the Dark Times channel.
So here we go again, back with another one. Welcome back to the Dark Times channel. And I want to go ahead and chime in on Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders, as everybody knows, is scheduled to be one of the top picks in the up-and-coming NFL draft. And the mainstream media and different scouts have been alluding to Shedeur Sanders having character issues.
Fame and financial success before entering the NFL, and their opinions appears to have them a problem with certain athletes. I'll leave it at that. Here we go with this again, Ocho.
But listen, listen. I understand, obviously, especially at the quarterback position.
Okay.
They want you to be and conduct yourself a certain way. They want you to be Tom Brady's, the Peyton Manning's.
I felt something on my face, and Peyton had pulled his shorts down and sat his anus, his testicles on my face. So I pushed him up and out. He turned around, pulled his shorts back up.
And since we're on the subject of Peyton Manning and quarterbacks conducting themselves in the proper way, faces of the franchise, if Shedeur Sanders had did what Peyton Manning did, or he was accused of doing by a team doctor,
who says Peyton Manning assaulted her years ago before he went pro. On February 29, 1996, his injured foot was being examined in the athletic department's training room by Nawright, who holds a doctorate in education.
My boss, when I called him that night, really realized that this was a serious situation. This was fault, and that he informed me not to call the police or press.
Shedeur Sanders would have been facing some charges, and getting drafted by an NFL team would be the least of Shedeur Sanders' concerns. But this is a story we never heard about. I didn't hear about this story until a few years ago, until long after Peyton Manning was retired. This is a story that they buried, and they purposely did it. And so I wanted to highlight that and point that out to say this, that when it comes to picking NFL players, quarterbacks in particular, and it comes to picking leaders of your team, because that's what the quarterback is, he's going to be the face of your franchise. When it comes to that, they pick and choose who they decide has good character and who doesn't have good character. Like I said, if a situation like this happened with Shedeur Sanders, like it did with Peyton Manning, it would have been world news. It would have been world news. And it's not just because of who Shedeur Sanders is and who he represents and Deion Sanders, because Peyton Manning had a famous dad too. He had a football player for a father as well. But yet we heard nothing about this during the draft process. And not only did we not hear about it, it didn't discourage any team from taking him. He still went number one.
The first pick in the draft, the Indianapolis Colts select quarterback, University of Tennessee, Peyton Manning.
And so when it comes to character concerns and maturity issues and all that kind of stuff, everything goes out the window if they like you. And oftentimes that's how it is in life. That's why I like to use sports as a microcosm to look at things and to look at how the world works. If they like you, all character concerns go out the window. And so we have scouts and NFL gurus out here trying to find anything and everything to make sure Shedeur Sanders is not one of the top picks in this year's draft.
So I don't understand what the issue is. And it reminds me of Deshaun Watson, where all he did was win all of his college career. Not good enough. National championship. I wasn't good enough. Something's off. I just wouldn't draft him so high. And all he did was become a very good football player previous to the personal things. An MVP candidate, in fact, one that got a guaranteed $200+ million because he was that good. And it's kind of reminded me of that, where you're starting to find reasons why you don't like him. Let me find something. That's what I'm saying.
You know what I mean?
He's reached that unlikable status.
Yeah, where you don't have it.
You are a leader of men coming in as a rookie to change the franchise. You have to be.
Let me ask you a question. Okay, let's just say, for the sake of argument, Ocho, everything that he said, everything that this coach said, that he's brash and he's arrogant. Can he play? That's all that. Yeah. Can he play football? He's a football player. He's not into politics, because in politics you need to be likable.
Today we are going to talk about Shedeur Sanders' character. That's right, character, and how his draft stock. That's right, and how his draft stock could be affected by his character. Now, this is something that a lot of platforms don't talk about. This is something that the NFL draft media doesn't talk a lot about. You know, we look at these pre-draft workouts, we look at the game film, but character plays a role in this. 2023, I'll start. Number 1, Shedeur Sanders flagged for unsportsmanlike conduct against Nebraska for removing his helmet. Number 2, Shedeur Sanders involved in a pregame verbal altercation versus Colorado State last year.
And let me go ahead and pause it right there, because there's nothing that he could say, and there's nothing that he's gonna say that can top what Peyton Manning did. He's sitting here nitpicking about football players jawing back and forth before a game, about Shedeur Sanders getting an unsportsmanlike conduct flag for removing his helmet during a game, talking smack. That's what players do. That's what competitors do.
Hey, Matt, let me ask you. So let me go back to it. So I want to be clear, though. Everyone's going to say I'm a hater. I don't like any of these quarterbacks. I don't like any of these quarterbacks in this draft.
And it's ironic, because I remember last year people were raving about how good this draft class was going to be.
Shedeur Sanders, to me right now, is a guaranteed high first-round pick. I think when you look at the way he's played at Colorado in this Sean Lewis offense, the accuracy has been unbelievable. He was at 68% at Jackson State those 2 years. He's at 77.5, hasn't thrown an interception. He had 9 rushing touchdowns in 2 years at Jackson State. He can roll right or left. He can make accurate throws. He throws a great ball. He's unflappable. He looks like he's in control at all times. You don't know if they're up or down, how they're performing. It doesn't matter. If he stays at Colorado, we'll be talking about him next summer like we're talking about Caleb Williams right now, number 1 pick guaranteed.
All of a sudden, it's the weakest quarterback class ever.
I don't know, man. I do feel like this entire narrative is getting a bit exhausting. I can't wait till the draft is over. But once it's over, wherever he goes, then it'll turn into he can't have success there. And then if he has success, it'll be because they had a shitty strength of schedule. Or there's always some fucking bullshit that comes with but.
He's throwing check down passes all game.
He only throws checkdowns. He only does this. Blah, blah, blah. It's just fucking like, good God in heaven, bro. Shedeur can do no right in the eyes of so many, and I don't get it.
And some people may not understand it, but I understand it, and a lot of you understand it. We know what it is. We knew this is what it was going to be once Shedeur Sanders was eligible for the draft, and once he declared for the draft, we knew exactly how it was going to go. We were going to have teams and we were going to have fan bases trying to justify on why they shouldn't draft Shedeur Sanders. And that's exactly what's going on. And I don't even think the majority of it is the NFL owners or the scouts or the GMs. I think a lot of the GMs around the league are looking at their fan base and they're trying to check the pulse and the temperature of the fan base on whether or not Shedeur Sanders would be accepted. And that's a tough thing to accept, but it's the reality. If Shedeur Sanders goes to a Tennessee, I think that'll be a disaster. Based on what I've seen from their fan base, I don't think their fan base wants anything to do with Shedeur Sanders. If Shedeur Sanders threw 70 touchdowns and 1 interception in college, they would be looking at that interception and they would say, we don't want Shedeur Sanders, he's a turnover machine. Certain fan bases at certain locations, and y'all know what I'm talking about, want nothing to do with Shedeur Sanders and they want nothing to do with Deion Sanders. And I think Shedeur Sanders needs to go to the right team in the right situation. And I think that's probably going to be the Las Vegas Raiders or the New York Giants. I think those are both fan bases that would embrace Shedeur Sanders and they would embrace Deion Sanders as well. But if he goes to Tennessee, it's going to be a nightmare from day one. If Shedeur Sanders has one bad game or a stretch of bad games, they're going to be calling for the quarterback. They're going to be calling for the team to replace the quarterback, and they're going to be calling for the team to tank for Archie Manning, because that's who they really want. In places like Tennessee and other places like that, they don't care how good Shedeur Sanders is. They don't care how good Cam Ward is. They want the right face for the right place. And either that's true or it's not true. But y'all go ahead and let me know how y'all feel about it in the comment sections below, and I'm gonna try to be as active in there as I can, because I definitely want to hear some of y'all's opinions and some of y'all's takes on this one. And make sure you guys go and hit that like button before you leave, and as usual, peace and chaos.